Hey guys, Templar here. Now today I'm going to be talking to you guys on Forged in Fire. Now this is technically a problems with Forged in Fire. Now I know I hear you guys a lot. Templar, this is just a show for entertainment. Well, yeah, I know, but still. When it comes to Forged in Fire, now don't get me wrong, I love the show that it shows historical weapons, but no. Mainly because of the fact they're using the weapons the wrong way, and plus they're also using the wrong type of things it would have seen on the battlefield. For example, if we remember the Warhammer episode, we see them using it against 18 gauge steel. Now, if you guys don't know anything about this breastplate, it's actually more meant for LARP. Yeah, because I've actually seen that type of steel myself, and no, that's not accurate at all. In fact, I'll even leave links down below for Scalagrim, who actually does well, do episodes on he did a couple of episodes on the armor quality of each helmets, so from leather to 18 gauge steel to 14 gauge steel, which is kind of impressive if you ask me. But yeah, you get the point. But another thing also is, the one thing I don't like about this series is that they had an idiotic episode with a double-headed axe head. Now I don't know if any of you guys know this, but there is no such thing in history about a double-headed axe. That's all fantasy crap. But now you guys might say, but Templar, they had only a stated history about it. Well, here's the thing, they're not always correct. For example, the Claymore wasn't used until not used in the medieval era, but actually used in some other era, such as sometime after the Battle of Stirling Bridge or after the War of Independence for Scotland. But that's the thing. That's a series that kind of gets a lot of things wrong. But now, the double-headed axe episode, that is the most idiotic episode I've ever seen. In fact, I think I actually nearly threw up every time I actually saw it. But yeah, the reason why that axe actually isn't meant for battlefield use. It's more of a decorational ornament. For example, this is actually what the Ottomans did, actually. This is actually the weirdest thing the Ottomans did. Every time they had a victory, they always proclaimed their victory on an axe. I don't know why, it's weird. They could have done it on a sword, but no, they chose to do it on an axe. Now, the two-headed axe, we have no idea why, because it kind of doesn't make any sense that much. But yeah, for example, say if the Ottomans won the Battle of Malta. Now, they didn't win the Siege of Malta. I have to have you guys know this. But just imagine if they did, just think, it could have gone a different way. That way, they could have actually made an axe of it. In fact, most of those ornaments aren't actually meant for battlefield use. In fact, if you were, it would break immediately. Mainly because it's made of a type of light material. What I mean by light material, I mean very light. So in other words, you swing that at somebody, it's not going to work. Okay, but now moving on. Weapons I would like to see in this series, they still haven't done yet. For example, I am wanting to see types of weapons that they have, but I have not seen them make it. For example, I haven't seen the Army Piercers, which the Army Piercers are a type of weapon that were used by the Shaolin monks. If you guys don't remember this, it was in the Deadliest Warrior episode, so yeah. But another weapon would also be the Chinese Sai. Now, these are pretty cool farming tools that later on turned into weapons used by ninjas. Yes, ninjas in feudal era Japan, but that's a different area. But another type of weapon I would love to see them actually make would technically be a so-called Chinese broadsword, but it's not a broadsword. It's more of like a pirate weapon, if I think about it, in which it's technically named a danjo. Now, a danjo is pretty cool. It's a single-bladed weapon, not to be confused with a Jin sword, in which is a two-bladed weapon. A daoja is a single-bladed weapon in which is more meant for cutting use rather than thrusting. And in fact, it's technically short for its purpose. So yeah, you can see why I like that weapon. But another weapon I would love to see, which I would probably call a butcher's tool, because that's actually what it was before it became a weapon. It's known as a dajo. Now, a dajo is a type of multi-handed weapon. In other words, you can use it in one hand or two hands, such as I can hold a shield and a sword. Now, the dajo is pretty cool because it breaks the body underneath armor, such as like a broadsword or a falchion or any type of melee type weapon. Or, well, not melee, but technically this is a bladed weapon, which is kind of cool, actually. Now, another type of thing I would also love to see him actually make would be some other Chinese pole weapons. Now, I don't know if they, because I haven't seen him make a pado, but the pado is a type of two-handed weapon, pole arm, that is actually used in China. Not to be confused with the one that's used in Japan. Now you guys might say, but Templar, aren't they the same? No, there's a difference between the two. In fact, you can definitely tell between the blade and its height. So, yeah. But now, let's actually go on to the main type of subject. What other weapons are there that are in history? Well, they're not actually doing any other form of Renaissance or medieval weapons from Europe, which is a heartbreaker. Because I want to see more European weapons, such as a messer, a falchion, a Scottish broadsword. I mean, come on, where are the good weapons? I mean, no offense, guys, but I'd rather prefer European, Arabic, or Asian, or Egyptian-style weapons than African weapons, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not much of a fan of later version weapons, so yeah. Now you guys probably might wonder, why am I not a fan of African weaponry? Well, there's sometimes things that you do not want to touch. Yeah, because if you guys wonder why I meant by that, African weaponry has somehow as a type of artwork on there that you don't want to show your children, trust me. But don't get me wrong, they're pretty cool weapons, but still. Now, if we remember on the Warhammer episode, it's kind of weird, because they use 18 gauge steel, and that's actually what fucks it up. Because you're supposed to use historically accurate armor that the weapon should have gone up against. And by that point in time, breastplate armor would have been more like 16 or 14 gauge steel, not 18 gauge. If you guys don't know this, it's kind of obvious. But another thing, they also use the weapons against a bare torso. Now, if you guys don't know what I mean by this, imagine this. You're technically swinging at a naked body, instead of a person who's armored, in which that's the problem. They're not using the weapons against armor like it's supposed to be. It's just kind of idiotic. In fact, we see that in the Zweihander episode, we see that in the Claymore episode. In fact, we see that every episode. It's kind of stupid. But, yeah. It's just... I just hope they, when it comes to them trying to make the Messer or the Scottish Broadsword or something historical, they don't fuck it up by not putting armor on the guy. Because if they don't put armor on the person, it won't work as well. Now, other problems about the series is their time limit. Now, this is the problem. Now you guys might wonder, well, why is there a problem with the time episode? Well, that's the thing. The time episode is like, you only got this type of amount of time left. If you speed through a weapon like that, it's going to break, no matter what you do with it. No offense to Forged in Fire, but I'm not a fan of contests that ruin weapons. I mean, I love the series, I do, but it's just inhumane to see this to weapons. But now, you guys also might ask, well, why? Why shouldn't it be done like this? Well, here's the thing. If you were to make a weapon, and you accidentally fuck it up, there you go. It's broken. Completely. There's no way you can get it back up. In fact, that's why a lot of forge smiths end up taking about a month to get it all fully fixed and such. Mainly not like 5 days to fix a weapon. To, well, make a weapon, because it's... if you do it like that, it will just cause the weapon to break immediately. Now, I myself have actually gone to a forge and actually even asked smiths this, and they themselves actually also disagree with Forged in Fire. And in fact, many of those smiths actually watch the show and dislike it a lot. Though it has given them ideas to make their own weapons here in Texas. Yes, I'm actually talking about a company that's here in Texas. I can't remember what they're called, but I do know that you can actually buy the weapons online, which I will leave links down below. But as well, one weapon I hope they make very soon would be a Dacian Falx. Now, if you guys don't know what a Dacian Falx is, it's technically a type of weapon that was used by Dacian people. Well, actually, Celtic Dacians, however you want to pronounce it. In fact, the Celts were actually, the Celts of Dacia are, well, all but forgotten. In fact, if you were to technically go to modern-day Romania, you see the markings of the Celtic people there. And in fact, their weapons the Dacians used was mainly a falx. Now, a falx is technically another version of a scythe, except in the form of a sword. Now, these weapons were dangerous on the battlefield. Reason why? The curve. And in fact, this weapon was so dangerous that it could cleave through both a Roman helmet and a Roman shield in one swipe. Just imagine that, actually. But as well, these weapons could be used by one-handed or two-handed. In fact, the Celts of Dacia used it throughout history. In fact, that's actually what caused the Romans to massacre the Dacian people for so long. But yeah, as well, I think Scala, if I remember correctly, it was Thang Thran that actually has something in an episode of that, which I will also leave links down below, along with Skallagrim's when it comes to his armor. But as well, some of the weapons I'm wanting to see on here, such as the Hungarian axe, I want to see that, as well a halberd maybe, or as well something else, because there aren't that many weapons they're showing. Now, I can understand it's supposed to be entertainment, but still it's kind of not becoming entertainment anymore. In fact, I haven't seen them make a mace yet, which I'm kind of surprised. But, yeah. But another type of thing also would actually be about the historical detail. Now, you guys might wonder, what do you mean by historical detail? Well, there are a lot of weapons in here that I don't see in historical texts. Yes, I'm also talking about that one about the two-headed axe head. Because if you just put something in there that's not meant for warfare use, it's just going to ruin it. Now, another thing I also want to see him make is bronze swords. Now, you guys might say, but Templar, isn't it called Forged in Fire? And aren't these blacksmiths? Well, yes. But see, before you can make iron weapons, you have to learn to make bronze. And bronze swords are actually a little bit easier to make and actually a lot faster to make compared to the iron weapons. In fact, if I was to make a Bronze Age sword, if I had to take a comparison of two swords I could take into battle extremely quickly and be battle ready in the process, I'd rather go with the bronze. Reason? Bronze Age swords are a lot faster to, well, make. And even though we technically take them for granted nowadays, originally they are still very dangerous. In fact, bronze can cut right through sheet metal as much as any normal sword can. The only problem about bronze is it's expensive. How expensive? Technically up to about $500 in American. So just imagine that. But yeah. Now, other problems about the series of Forged in Fire, there are some good things about it. At least it tells us about the weapons and their roles. But some of them are just idiotic, such as the last episode was a lion's spear. Lion spear, really? Are they just making this shit up just to entertain us? Where is the good shit? But yeah. But there are also a couple other type of other weapons, such as the glaive, or as well, there are some melee weapons that are extremely dangerous, such as the pole hammer. Now, if you guys don't know what a pole hammer is, it's technically like a second version, a two-handed version of a warhammer, in which you do not want to get hit with. Trust me, I've actually been in reenactments and gotten hit with something like that. So, yeah. But yeah, there are other weapons they could have also made. For example, I haven't seen them make a Roman pilum yet, so if they make something like that, I'll be surprised. Or, I would also love to see them make a Scottish luckbear. Now, if you guys don't know what a Scottish luckbear is, it's technically a type of halberd, I guess you might say, that's technically with a hook, a blade. It's technically like a mix of one hook, one spike end, one spike on top, one spike on the back, and as well a cutting end on the front. Now this type of weapon is very extremely dangerous, and you don't want to get cut with it, or stabbed with it, or even mounted off a horse with it. But yeah, there are other weapons in history I'd love to also see them make, such as the war scythe. Now a war scythe is technically something we might see in Dark Souls even, but these things are historically accurate and were actually used by a type of Slavic tribes. Now, these weapons are extremely dangerous, and even with a cutting motion, you can actually cut a person's foot off, or worse. So, yeah. But as well, guys, if you guys agree with me, like this, share this, subscribe. And as well, if you guys want to see more about these type of weapons and such, and this armor, of what I mean of the quality, click on the links below and you'll see what I mean. Anyways, guys, have a good day.